It's time to fire this thing up.
Welcome aboard ShipShape TV Essentials. This is your port of call for the most impactful upgrades, expert advice, and hands-on solutions from seasons past. This episode is proudly brought to you by SureHold, because anything worth doing is worth doing bright. From cleaning to protecting and perfecting, SureHold has everything you need to keep your boat shining. Don't just go boating, go showboating. Now, let's hoist anchor and set a course for another exciting episode of ShipShape TV Essentials.
If boating's your game, then you'll agree. ShipShape is the way to be. Out on the lake or on the sea, ShipShape means trouble-free. ShipShape means being neater. ShipShape makes boat work easier. ShipShape is the way to go. The ShipShape Boat Care Show.
ShipShape, Florida's only boat improvement show, is being brought to you in part by Freedom Marine, where we take a bite out of the high-priced boat dealers, and by the paint professionals at Cape Marina, located in Port Canaveral, and by Florida Watercraft, now with 2 locations to serve you, and by the friendly folks at Boathouse Discount Marine. If you need it, we probably have it.
Thanks for tuning in to ShipShape, the boat improvement show. I'm John Graviscus, and this is my partner, Bert. If it's making some racket, we'll put on a bracket, Del.
Howdy, folks.
We're on location today in Stuart, Florida, at the Armstrong Nautical Products Factory, where we'll be completing the installation of the engine bracket on the back of our 25-foot Whitewater. I'd like to take just a second out real quick to welcome a new station that's carrying ShipShape, WIRB TV 56 in Central Florida. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
We started this project 4 weeks ago with a tour of Armstrong's facility to show you how the bracket was actually built.
Then we de-rigged the Whitewater and we cleared the back of the transom to give Tom out here at Armstrong the opportunity to make us a custom template.
We've been doing some modifications to our boat to make her fish a little better, but we'll get into that a little later on in the show.
Which brings us to today, where we're actually going to be mounting the bracket onto our transom. Now guys, if there's some suggestion for a project that you'd like to see covered here on the show, please take some time out of your schedule to write us a letter or send us a fax.
Write your project suggestions to ShipShape, the TV show. Attention Project Director, Post Office Box 31561, Palm Beach Gardens, Florida 33420. Or fax us at area code 407-626-4348.
And guys, if we use your suggestion on the show, hey, we're gonna send you out a free t-shirt. So take some time out of your schedule to write it down and send it in. Right now, we need to take a time out and hear a word from our sponsors. Stick around.
Don't drift away. ShipShape will be right back.
The SureHold One Bucket System is your storage and detailing solution. Featuring an ergonomic corrosion-free rope handle, a bucket caddy to organize your supplies and lift them out with ease, a bucket grate to elevate your wash tools out of dirty water with integrated soap measuring cups, a bucket base that won't let your bucket scratch, tip, or slip, and a bucket lid that keeps tools secure and doubles as a comfortable seat. The SureHold One Bucket System, the world's best rope handle 5-gallon bucket. SureHold, clean and simple.
Welcome back to today's show. Now, Bert, we left off with you last week doing some fiberglass work to our bulkheads. Can you tell us what's been going on?
Well, John, what I've done is I've taken 2 plies of 1.5 ounce mat and I sealed our bulkheads. Then I took some resin and cavisil, mixed it up, made myself a paste. And I just lined the edge of the stringer and the bottom of the hull, made a bed and slid the bulkhead right down in it.
Okay.
Then I took and smoothed it all out, cut myself some biaxial strips, and just glassed the bulkhead to the stringers, the bulkhead to the bottom of the floor.
Well, actually what cavisil is just a fancy name for a filler material. When mixed with resin, it makes an incredibly strong seal. Now, we use this mixture as a bed to add structure to our boat. Bert, what's been going on with our custom drain tube?
Well, John, there again, I mixed up some cavisil and resin, made myself a paste, set the tube right in it, smoothed it out, and then I cut myself some biaxial strips about 3 inches wide, 10 inches long, and just taped them to the bottom of the hull.
I'd like to take a second here and kind of give you the difference between fiberglass mat and fiberglass biaxial.
There's your mat, and there's your biaxial.
When you're looking at the fiberglass mat, it's a material that's kind of haphazardly laid together. This material is not used for adding any structure to your boat. This is mainly to give your resin something to adhere to, like in the case of our bulkhead. When you're looking at the fiberglass biaxial, it's a very tightly woven mesh, and this material is used when you're trying to add strength to your boat.
Let me tell you what's been going on with our fish boxes. What we've done is we've cut some foam to fit this compartment. And we're going to be bonding the foam to the stringer, the bottom of the hull, the outboard stringer, the forward bulkhead, and the aft bulkhead.
Now, Bert, how are we going to bond this material?
What we're going to do is use cavisil just like we did with our drain tube and our bulkhead, and we just bond the foam right to the stringer, right to the bottom of the boat.
Okay.
Just paste it on.
Now, what are you going to do with the spaces in between the foam?
We're going to fill that also with cavisil. You know, just make it all nice and smooth. We're going to do the top edges of the foam, and then we'll be able to glass it in.
So basically what you're telling me is cavisil is kind of like a wood putty for fiberglass.
Basically, yeah, you can use, you know, it's just a filler.
Well, that's great. Now, what are we going to be doing here with the plywood?
Well, the plywood we're going to be putting on the bottom, the side, and the back, because this is where you throw a fish in, the action is going to be down and back.
Right.
Okay, and like if you throw a dolphin, and you know how they beat around and everything, this will just give strength to our foam so it doesn't get crushed.
Now, with the foam, it's naturally going to be insulated. What if we threw ice in there? Are we going to have some kind of drain system?
Yeah, what I've done is I've got a 90 PVC pipe.
Okay.
And this is going to mount through the bottom of our plywood, and I'm going to put it in a bed of cavisil, and I'm going to glass it in. You can also put a plug in this. Let's say if you want to have some ice water on the fish, you don't want it to drain off, just put a plug in there and it'll hold the water.
Well, that really makes sense. Let me show you what's been going on here back at the transom. We've gone ahead and put in a couple of 4-inch diameter deck plates to help us in the mounting process of our bracket, to give us a little bit more access. It's also going to help us when we're doing the re-rigging process.
Now it's time to start the process of mounting our bracket to the back of our transom.
What we had to do first was fill in the holes in our transom where the engine actually hung on it. And now, Bert, we kind of ran into a situation there, didn't we?
Well, John, what they had done is they had drove dowel rods in some old holes that the older motors used to hang from.
So there's been multiple motors on this boat.
Yes. The dowel rods were saturated with water.
Well, that's no good.
No, you can the water can actually rot out your transom.
Because you've got plywood in between your fiberglass on your transom.
Yeah, inside the fiberglass, there's plywood.
So those dowel rods could actually act like a sponge and soak water.
Yeah, it just it draws water right in there.
Okay.
So what I did is I drove the dowel rods out, and that was kind of a chore because they were, really swelled up.
I can understand that.
I cleaned the holes out really well, let them air dry, get nice and dry. There really was no damage to the transom around the boat hole.
Good, good.
So then I put some tape on the backside, poked a hole in the top edge of the tape to let air escape when I mix up the cavisil and force it through.
Okay.
This will allow the air to go through, but the tape will hold the cavisil in and won't let you make a mess on the inside of the boat.
Bert, that's a great idea. Let me show you what's going on back here with all these divots on our transom. Now, these divots are actually from the template that Tom out here at Armstrong had created for our boat. This is the actual bolt pattern that we're going to use to put the two pieces together.
What I'm using here is a standard air motor, a 7/16 bit, and a drill guide. Get lined up on the pilot hole here. Now, when you're drilling materials such as steel or aluminum, you can use a cutting hole. In the case of wood and fiberglass, you can use beeswax or soap. Makes the job a lot easier. Well, I have quite a few holes to drill in the back of this transom, so let's go to break.
Don't pull up anchor. Ship Shape's coming right back.
When you seriously want your expensive wax and buffing pads rejuvenated to a like-new condition, you seriously want Sure-Hold Industries Serious Pad Cleaner. Scientifically formulated to quickly dissolve compounds and waxes from all wool pads, foam pads, microfiber towels, cotton bonnets, even blended buffing pads. All it takes is adding this Serious Pad Cleaner powder to your arsenal. Serious Pad Cleaner, another answer from Sure-Hold Industries' clean and simple solutions for detailing all your toys.
Now here's an idea for you to get more boat for your money. Go ahead and buy yourself a good used hull, put a new engine on the boat, and then have your hull refurbished with the paint professionals at Cape Marina. Cape Marina can take an old faded hull and bring it back to life. All Grip is the paint of choice above the waterline, and Pettit paint is what you'll want to use for your bottom paints. Cape Marina in Port Canaveral is the largest and most trusted boatyard, ship store, and storage facility on the Central East Coast. And with the most competitive prices on paint jobs, Cape Marina is your only choice. See for yourself by calling for a free estimate today.
Hi, I'm Ronnie at the Marine Connection Liquidators in Fort Pierce, and I'm buried in boat stuff. We have 2 acres outdoors, over 20,000 square foot indoors. If there's anything you need for your boat, we probably have it. Hard to find center consoles, biminis, bow rails, fuel tanks, at or below wholesale prices. This place is even bigger than the biggest in the world. So whether you're coming from Miami or Orlando, you will save at the Marine Connection Liquidators at 2901 North US 1 in Fort Pierce.
Since ShipShape has been on the air, the success of the show has been phenomenal. We've grown 6-fold since our inception, and quite frankly, we need some help to keep up with it. I'm looking for a few good people with a marketing or advertising background. Marine knowledge is a plus, and enthusiasm is a must. If this sounds like you, give us a call at area code 407-626-1439. We need people to help in sales. Again, give us a call at area code 407-626-1439. ShipShape TV, on the move with you.
This week on Rules of the Road, we'll look at boating and manatee areas and some of the things that you can do to help save these endangered mammals. We share our marine environment with a variety of animals, and hopefully you've caught a glimpse of the West Indian manatee. With only 2,000 of these gentle giants left in Florida, they need our warm waters and seagrass habitat for survival. Speed restriction zones have been set up throughout Florida to protect manatees as they can't get out of the way of fast-moving boats. About 25% of manatee deaths are directly attributed to boating, and most living manatees carry multiple scars from being run over by boats. Keep a lookout for manatees in inland or shallow waters, giving them plenty of room for safe passage, and avoid approaching them with your boat. Never touch, feed, or give water to them. It's against the law and interrupts their natural behavior. Keep trash, especially plastics and monofilament line, in a safe place till you get to shore. Manatees and other marine life can ingest litter or become entangled in it with deadly effects. Stay in marked channels away from the shallow waters where your engine could cause damage to the seagrass beds. Shallow waters don't give manatees enough clearance to escape boat engines. Report injured or dead manatees to the Florida Marine Patrol at 1-800-DIAL-FMP. I'm Officer Christian from the Florida Marine Patrol. See you on the water.
Now that all our holes are drilled, it's time to apply a bonding seal to the mating surface of our bracket.
We recommend the 3M Marine Adhesive Sealant 5200 for this job. Now, one of the reasons we're putting the bracket on our boat is to help with some flotation. With the twin engines, the boat sits a little low in the water, and the air cavities that we're going to be creating is actually going to help the boat lift up. Now, Tom, did you guys have any obstacles in the building of the bracket?
No, not really, John. This is basically a standard design with 2 exceptions. One is we had to conform to the back of the boat to make it fit, and the other was, but since it is a little bit sitting low in the water, we dropped the bottom 2 inches, which adds another 100 pounds of flotation, for a total of around 400 pounds of flotation.
Now, when you're talking about the weight of one of our engines being 475 pounds, 400 pounds of flotation is almost going to float one entire engine.
Like you're saying, John, this is an important step. 3M 5200 is a really great product. It works fantastic, which is why we recommend it. It's the only thing we really want people to use. 2 reasons. One, we have dissimilar metal shear, so we want that seal saltwater out, and also the transom. These boats are going through the wooden transom. We want that seal so there's no salt water there also. It's a really very important step.
Well, I really want to see it applied. That makes it real easy with the air compressor
Yeah.
and the air hose with your caulking gun. Now it looks to me, Tom, like he's just getting a really nice outside seal.
Right. Right, a nice seal, and you notice we taped off the top of the bracket here also.
Now what was the advantage of that?
Well, once we put the bracket up, it's going to squeeze out, so it'll make our cleanup job a lot easier.
Oh, hey, that's great. Now what kind of drying time do you have on the sealant, Tom?
Believe it or not, it's not quick. It's close to 4 days before it's really good and tight.
Okay.
But even 24 hours, it's still real sticky.
Right.
But it's good stuff.
Well, we've got a little working time here then to mount the bracket.
Oh yeah, lots of time.
Now that our sealant is applied, we're going to go ahead and use this tow motor to bring the bracket to the transom and start the bolting process. This can get real tricky because we have to match all of our holes up.
Come a little further that way. Up, down, up a little. You guys are not level. Push your heads down. Slide the rope.
Okay.
Up.
That's looking pretty good right there. Drop her down a little. And let's go ahead and try to get some bolts through here.
Come in.
Okay, just a hair.
More.
I'm in. The hardware that we're going to be using to attach our bracket to the back of our transom is stainless. It's 3/8 diameter, 4" in length. We're also going to be putting anti-seize on the threads. This way, if you ever have to take it off, the bolts will back out.
Well, it's taken us a couple of hours to bolt our bracket onto our hull, but I want to show you real quick something else that Armstrong's real famous for, and that's that marine ladder that everybody's talking about. Here it is. Basically, the design of this ladder is to accommodate the diver. When you have your fins, it's real easy to bring them in from the side rather than going through a box. Also, what's real unique about the ladder is the incline. See, if you have tanks on and you have an inclining ladder, all of your weight's going to be leaning forward when you're climbing it up, making it very easy to climb in and out of your boat. Well, I see our tow motor is ready to bring in our engine. Again, what we're going to be using is the stainless steel bolts, 4" bolts, along with anti-seize. Well, Bert's going to go ahead and finish bolting our engines onto our bracket, but I want to show you something else that's going on here out at Armstrong. Here we have a 20-year-old boat with some old IOs, and Tom, they're filling this in. What's going on here?
Right. This had a pair of the old-style OMC inboard outboards, which have a really huge hole.
Okay.
So he's fiberglassed the hole in itself, and he's also reinforced the inside of the transom, built up the transom to where it's 2 inches thick.
Right. Now he's going to be putting one of your brackets on the back of this.
Right. It's going to be a large single, probably a 225 or 250. He hasn't decided yet. It's going to have a full-width platform, and on one side it's going to have a kicker bracket for a 9/9 or 15 for emergency power.
Now, I know a lot of people are doing this. They're taking an older boat that they love that has the IOs. You know, IOs are not that friendly to salt water, and what they're doing is they're closing in the transoms, putting on engine brackets, and putting outboard power to them. Tom, price-wise, what are we looking at for putting a bracket on one of these boats?
Well, a lot has to do with it, singles or twins,
Okay.
like Bert's, what we've done with Bert's. You know, the bracket itself, somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000, depending on how fancy you get.
Now, what about a single?
Single from $1,000 to $2,000, say, depending on if it's full width platform, and the kicker bracket could go up close to $2,000. But the basic single is $900.
Well, I know that you guys have really researched out a lot of products on the market, and you're really adding something to the industry. And I just can't thank you enough for being on the show and for spending the last 4 weeks with us.
Thank you, John. We appreciate
Thanks,
being with
Tom.
you.
Chapman's Corner is brought to you by Chapman School of Seamanship.
Today on Chapman's Corner, we want to show you a Class B EPIRB. EPIRB stands for Emergency Position Indicating Radio Beacon. This is an emergency transponder that sends out a signal on 2 different frequencies. It'll transmit for approximately 48 hours. Once you light this off, keep in mind that you're sending a signal out that'll reach Air National Guard, Navy forces, Coast Guard, commercial planes. You're going to start a multi-million-dollar search and rescue operation, so make sure that when you light this off, you've got a bona fide distress signal. It's very simple to turn on. All we do is we depress this little switch right here, turn it to on, and the set will start transmitting continuously for 48 hours. The EPIRB should also be registered with the FCC because this is a transponder, and the Class B EPIRB is a manual turn-on. From Chapman School of Seamanship, this is Tom Dante.
I'd like to take this time to welcome a new station to the Shipshape family, WIRB TV 56 in Central Florida. And to kind of commemorate that, I'm in Central Florida in Melbourne at Boathouse Discount Marine. And with me today is Jack Bradford of Boathouse Discount Marine. Jack, thanks so much for having us out today.
Thank you, John. My pleasure.
Now today we're going to look at a real unique boat. We're going to look at the 34-foot Proline. Now Jack, what's the boat powered by?
It's powered by twin 225 Evinrude Outboards Ocean Pros.
Okay. Now with those engines, what kind of fuel capacity do you have on this boat?
We have 300-gallon fuel capacity, and we have about a 300-mile range with that capacity also with these engines.
That's fantastic. I see that the boat has some real unique access panels to get into the bilge and to get into other parts of the boat. That's got to be real beneficial when you're talking about maintenance.
It is. If you're talking your labor rates for your outboard engine and boats, everything should be accessible to the mechanic, which this boat is. Everything has the access panel to get to it.
Jack, that's fantastic. This boat is obviously laid out to fish. Can you tell us some of the amenities that it comes with?
Well, it has a lighted bait well.
That's a real unique feature.
It has a freshwater sinking system with it also.
Okay.
When you're cleaning, you want to clean up, it has a lot of freshwater systems. It has a full cutting inside with with your table and your sleeping area.
Now the ladies have to love that. You know, the guy can go out there and fish to his heart's content, but you know, if you have the kids or the wife or whatever, they have a place to get out of the sun, to get out of the weather, and I think that's real important. What about the T-top on this? This looks like a real unique kind of situation.
Well, it's a nice T-top with a box, and it has the rocket launchers on it, and it's a big T-top. It's very stable on the boat.
Now something very unique is you have this meshing. This mesh going on there. Now that's to hold what, life jackets?
Yes, it's accessible life jacket storage, so everything is right at your fingertips.
Well, that's great.
If you happen to need them.
Well, it looks like you've got some dry storage underneath that leaning post as well.
Yes, a lot of dry storage in a boat, and especially under the leaning post, and you have two large fish boxes also.
Are those
in.
Insulated?
They're insulated, and they're also overboard pump out.
Fantastic. Now let's talk about this unique center console on the boat, Jack. Now it looks like there's a head below.
Yes, there is a full 5-foot 9-inch headroom head below with the vacuum flush system, vanity, shower, everything incorporated all in underneath the console.
Well, I think what's real ironic is they call it a vanity, and yet it's in a private location. But we'll get into that a little bit later. Tell us some other things about the boat, Jack.
Well, it's just a wonderful fishing boat. It has pop-up cleats in the fore section.
That's a real unique feature. I'm seeing more and more of the boat manufacturers putting that in.
Right.
And I just think that's real great. Now let's talk about the V entry into the water here. This looks like a deep V.
Yes, it is. It's Donzi's ZX hull, the 33-foot hull, with an integrated platform on the back for the motors. It's the hull that's won all their races and all their rough water races.
Jack, real quick, price on the boat?
It lists for $102. We're selling it for $89.9.
Now, where can people come and preview it?
At Boathouse Discount Marine in Melbourne.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for being on the show. We'll see you soon.
Thank you very much, John.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's show. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd like to again thank all the people out here at Armstrong Nautical Products who made this show possible. Thanks, guys.
And be sure to join us next week when we get into refinishing ash, teak, and mahogany.
Thanks for tuning in.
See ya.
If boating's your game, then you'll agree. Shipshape is the way to be. Out on the lake or on the sea, shipshape means trouble-free. Ship shape is the way to go. The Ship Shape Boat Care Show.